Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today as we discuss the November 2024 performance across the family of HFR indices with Ken Hines, president of HFR Index. Welcome, Ken.
Thanks, Anika.
So it's been an exciting couple of weeks since we last talked. Please fill us in on how you feel about the month of November and start of December so far.
Yeah, I'd say it's the most exciting weeks we've had, not only for 2024, but even a longer period than that. We had the strongest hedge fund performance that we've had through all of 2024 in November. And obviously, we know the news. The news is the US presidential election, the incoming administration, all the changes associated with that. We saw a really strong risk on response to the election, where we saw extremely strong gains, really led by crypto and all of the various cryptocurrencies. We saw strong performance of large cap U.S. equities, even more so in large cap equities than in technology. And what's interesting is that you saw interest rates trade in a very wide range, initially rising on the news of the incoming election, and then falling. Interestingly enough, shortly after the election, the Federal Reserve actually cut rates, and so there was a lot going on in the last 3 weeks of November. We saw strong hedge fund performance, which we'll talk about as we go through this deck of slides.
All right, so let's kick it off. Let's look at the composites. What is our top performing composite index?
Yeah, you can see
November?
here's the November performance of all of the strategies. The top performing here is the HFRI equity hedge, which gained about 3.4%, 3.3 in event driven, and then you see the rest of them there. Now, to put a proper context on the performance comparison, obviously Dow Jones's large cap US equities had a much stronger gain of 7.5%, but most equities that were not US large cap didn't do nearly as well as that did. So, for the purpose of putting a context, I actually included European equities here. You can see the FTSE 100 is probably a better gauge of performance overall for the month. And you see that did have a gain, 2.2%, but not nearly as strong as the US led gain, really basing on a lot of the expectations for trade and lighter regulation and really a pro-business, pro-M&A environment is really, you saw large cap, you saw small cap, you saw a lot of different areas really accelerated. Obviously, the story that crypto has accelerated, it's gone from, Bitcoin gone from 70,000 to 100,000 in the first 4 weeks since the election.
So let's look at the sub-strategy level. What is coming out on top?
Yeah, you can see here technology, not surprising. Again, really strong gain for the HFRI 400 of 11.1%. That actually topped the U.S. equities. We left the FTSE, the European equities on here, 2.2%, to put a better context on the sub-strategy performance in the month of November. I actually did this slide two ways because I want to highlight the contribution of crypto, but I don't want to muddy the water of talking about hedge fund performance because it is so off the charts that when I show it to you in the next slide, it very much overwhelms the vertical axis. So let's go to that slide, and then we can talk about crypto. So this is the exact same slide as the prior one, but in order to put the cryptocurrency on there, we now see that the gain is, as you see, over 45% for the month of November. Strong isn't even the word for it. Just a huge momentum of risk on here in response to lots of expectations of how the industry will continue to evolve under the incoming administration. So, yeah, strong performance across technology, across quantitative directional, across activist, event-driven multi-strategy, fundamental growth, all of those strong performing in November. But crypto, as you know, is not really a hedge fund sub-strategy. We have it outside of the HFRI. It's its own index of funds, but not part of the HFRI. So that's why we keep it separate. In this case, just to show it compared to something, we show it compared to these sub-strategies.
Okay, so year to date, how have the indices done?
Yeah, the year's flown by. We're 11 months through it now. And you can see, obviously, with that really strong gain in the month of November, you can see the Dow Jones is up over 19%, almost 20%. Um, and the leading area of hedge fund performance, 13.7% for equity hedge, and then event driven, about 10.8%. So strong across all of those. And again, we left European equities on here just to kind of anchor the discussion about hedge fund performance, so it's not too much swayed by the huge month for large cap U.S. equities. And so you can see here as you go down the way with the composite up 9.5% and the fund weighted composite of 10.4 and relative value, which interestingly enough, and I pointed this out in the press release, actually had its 13th consecutive month of gain, and it's been very, very steady. Has gained 8.5% on the year, but with very few months of decline, very low volatility. And you can see on the way down there, big jump for macro as well, and that's interesting. After in October it declined, so it was good to see that recover a bit as well on the risk on sentiment.
So, just to clarify, our constituents on the indices include hedge funds that operate in across the globe, correct? So, this
Absolutely,
comparison with
yeah.
FTSE, yeah.
All of the contributing funds in the indices and in the database are global in nature.
All right. So, let's look at the sub strategy year to date performance.
Yeah, we did this the same way. So you see here year to date top sub strategy performance: technology 27.5%, quantitative directional 21.5%. Again, both of those ahead of the large cap US equities, even with the big bump in the month of November. You can see equity hedge multi strategy is also strong at 16.75%, 16.5 for the event driven multi strategy, 14.2 for healthcare. And then you can, again, we left European equities on here at 7.16%, just to put a context on how amazing of a month the US equities had relative to everything else.
And then the dramatic change when we add crypto to the mix.
Yeah, and again, you sort of get the the vertical axis distorted because you take exactly the same 6 or 7 bars as we have there, and you add that, you see that for the year, the cryptocurrency index has gained 76.2%. Obviously, extreme volatility, but extremely positive upside volatility, at least recently. And you can see all the other sub strategies that we talked about, still 27.5, 21.5%. Strong gains there, but nothing really keeping up, at least in the last month, with the gains, the record gains for the cryptocurrency index.
All right. So that wraps up November. Any words on December that you would like to share as yet?
Yeah, there's still, markets are still digesting this incredible 3 weeks, 4 weeks that we've had since the election. And, as you look into the new year, there's a lot of expectations for the drivers of performance in November to continue throughout the year, those being expectations for lighter regulation, more pro-business environment, M&A, and lower taxes. And so all of those things really investors and managers are focusing all those things and trying to position for this very exciting, and certainly the crypto story. You can't even talk about November and not talk about it. And so, yeah, that continues to be a focal point heading into the new year.
All right. Well, thank you for your insights, Ken. Would you like to say a few words in closing?
Yeah, just to conclude, obviously our press release is on the website. You can visit www.hfr.com. If you're watching this, you know that we do regular performance updates on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you have questions, things you'd like to see us address on upcoming performance commentaries, we're happy to do that. Feel free to email me, Ken Hines, or indices at hfr.com. If you have questions about anything that we've discussed here or anything you see on the website. And then finally, when you do go to the website, please find the investor guidebook, which is a great resource. It really talks about the use case and the utility of all of the families of investable indices that HFR publishes. So you can click on that, you can save it, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me and set up a call. Happy to discuss. Thanks for listening now, and we look forward to the next performance commentary.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks for your time.